Yo, this is Ozzy from Ozzy Boids, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
I'm John Feely of Feely's Clutch, and you are watching Reptiles Unplugged.
This is Will Rose from Royal Canadian Reptiles, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
Guys, it's KB Reptiles.
Team Helga.
Team Beard.
And you're watching
Reptiles Unplugged.
It's Justin from Jacob Luck Reptiles, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
Nick with Renowned Reptiles here, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
It's your boy Harry Wayne from Royal Canvas Exotics, and you're tuning into Reptiles Unplugged.
You're Triple B, and you're watching Reptiles Unplugged.
Whoo! Okay, what's up, everybody? Super happy to have everybody here. Obviously, another fantastic Wednesday. Joel here from Safe 48 Exotics, and my buddy over there rocking the shirt of the hour, I suppose. Adam, how you doing tonight, man?
Hey, man, doing good. BeachBumXotics here. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. And we've got a repeat guest tonight. Super excited about this conversation that we're about to have. We've got Ozzy Boid's on with us tonight talking about the Orange Dream. So, man, turn it over to you, Ozzy.
Yeah, how we doing tonight, Oz?
Yeah, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be back on the show.
Yeah, dude, we're glad to have you. We convinced you to come on twice, man. What the heck?
Yeah, man, whatever, man. You know? Yeah, but yeah, good to be on the show. My season is really starting to kick in, starting to hatch some stuff. So it's going to get real hectic here the next few months.
Yeah, dude, today just on freaking Instagram alone, I mean the OD Ultramel clutch, and then I think it was the maybe Super OD pinstripe. I don't know what was going on. It looked like the shed out picture. I was just like, dude, how many killer clutches are you going to post in one day right now? Blew my mind.
So last year was a bit slow, but this year I kind of ramped things up, and I have quite a few clutches on the ground, and I've been getting a lot of clutches, 2 or 3 clutches a day. So
right,
there's going to be some days where I got a lot of stuff coming out. So I'm going to try to be better about posting things as they hatch. Let people see the transition from when they first hatch and then after they shed out.
Right.
And you guys can also participate in the frustration that goes along with trying to identify everything, and especially when you're producing combos for the first time, you really don't know what they're going to look like.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's I feel like something you kind of touched on a little while ago in a couple of videos I had seen, where it was kind of like a perspected ID, not necessarily the guaranteed ID with some of these codon combos.
Yeah, some of the combos, I know it's going to be het for whatever, that's definitive.
Right.
And you can tell it's a pied, or some things are clear cut.
Yeah.
But some of it, it's really a theoretical ID. It's you're looking at it and you're saying, yeah, I think it has this and that, and I hatched out some Enchi pieds that are at candy, and I'm like, is this candy pied like Orange Dream? I purchased them. I was but going back through my records, there was no Orange Dream in the breeding that produced them.
Right.
And, it's just because you expect them to look a certain way, they're not going to do that consistently, and you always get a curveball. So,
yep.
All right.
Everybody.
And what a problem to have, identifying world's first.
Yeah, these never before ever seen snakes. Yeah, right. It does sound like a bummer now that you say it.
Yeah, it's cool. It just you gotta do your best when you're ID and stuff, and then if things don't pan out, you take care of your customer, but whenever I buy something, I understand that, this person is IDing this. I usually ask what the pairing is,
Right.
And, sometimes you get extra genes. Like I sold a guy sold a guy an Orange Dream, Mojave Spider Clown, and turned out it's also leopard.
Right.
And,
right.
And it was something else. But yeah, he didn't hatch any spiders in the clutch, so I don't even know. It might not even be spider. It might be leopard. You know,
instead. Right.
But it's like this multi-gene animal. So you know, you look at it, and you know, sometimes you might get extra genes. You know, actually, I don't know if I even sold it to him as an Orange Dream. I don't remember, but he was pretty happy. He was pretty stoked.
Yeah, it worked out great on his end.
Yeah, it's Pos Head Pied too, and he produced some stuff with ringers, so I'm pretty sure he prove out Head Pied as well.
Yeah.
And then I sold the guy a pastel Desert Ghost, Pos Head Puzzle, really pretty male. And dude, he threw these animals. I mean, it proved out to be Head Puzzle. So he made some crazy looking puzzles that are 100% Head Desert Ghost. And
what?
And they look like they had Orange Dream in it, but the pairing that it came from, there was no Orange Dream in it. But some of the babies came out looking like just really crazy and orange and
right.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, right?
Yeah, man. If you saw those animals, and if there was Orange Dream in the pairing, you would have labeled them as, you know, pastel Orange Dream puzzle.
Yeah, it would have been definitive. Right.
And orange, yeah, because they look like they have it. I mean, they clearly look like there's something else, and there might be another gene floating around in there. I don't know if it's cryptic or if it's something from Sean's puzzle, but I have some weird stuff going on. You know,
maybe the Atari stuff or something like that. You know,
it could be. I mean, who the hell knows? And I you know, I know for a fact that ball pythons spontaneously mutate all the time. So you know, you could be breeding something and just pop out something, a new gene, you know?
Right. We've seen that a lot actually within this complex of, you know, it's not even coming from Africa as a new gene. It pops up randomly in a collection, right? You know, so
I think it's just a genetic phenomenon. I think the genetic term for some of these mutations is jumping alleles, where alleles will switch positions during mitosis, during sperm or formation. So
once it joins.
Yeah. I think the ball python genome is prone to that. That's why we have so many different ball python mutations.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then there's drift. Like, you know, there's drift.
Genetic drift and stuff.
Yeah. The high intensity OD is a perfect example. I don't know what the hell happened, what caused that, but, you know, it's like a tweaked version of the Orange Dream. You know, it's still Orange Dream, but
and it's not a super.
Different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, you know, like every year you just start to see, like, you know, you produce, like I produced a ton of, you know, yellow belly, Orange Dream combos, and then all of a sudden I start getting some weird looking ones, and they just, you know, sometimes it just start to drift. The original Orange Dream was a banded snake. It was a reduced banded snake. Now I produce Orange Dreams all the time that are not banded. You know, they have a pattern. So
and that's, I feel like we see a lot of that similarly in like leopard geckos and stuff, where it's like you're working with a phenotype on top of the genotype and really like pushing that boundary in that end, which is it's a crazy thing, man. It's these genes are you go on Morph Market and you look at all those genes down that list, and there is a lot. There is a lot of genes going on down there. So I guess that's
a good opener for this topic.
Right. Without further ado here, let's kind of dive into kind of bringing Orange Dream to the life. You know, without Orange Dream, I mean, where would we be in the ball python community? You know, like it is pivotal, I feel.
I don't know where I would be. I mean, I'm sure I would still be breeding ball pythons, but nobody would probably know me. Yeah, so the Orange Dream, I mean, you can go check out other podcasts. I mean, I've written articles and books, in Kevin's book. So I think the history of the Orange Dream is pretty well laid out. What I want to talk about today is some of the lessons that I learned in bringing a new gene to market. So, if you look on Morph Market, you see a lot of genes, and there's a lot of guys out there who have these things that pop up in their collection, and, we all follow in Ralph Davis's terminology. We all call them dinker projects, right?
Right.
So, there's quite a few dinkers out there. So I wanted to just, go over a quick set of lessons that I learned bringing Orange Dream to market.
Yeah, this is the good stuff.
All right, so lesson number 1, you need to have a lot of space. If you have a project, seriously, man, I recommend 1 to 2 like ARS or Freedom Breeder racks. Like anywhere, to do it properly, anywhere from like 30 to 60 dedicated tubs.
That's what I was going to say. You're talking the 3 wide, 10 high, 2 of those, right?
Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because you really, you unless you get lucky, like if you have something like a banana, then
what are you gonna do?
You don't really have to produce any combos. You could just produce the banana and start selling them for $60K. But if you got a gene that's more subtle, like an Orange Dream or an Enshi or something, that by itself it just really doesn't pop, and it's gonna take a few years of breeding to show people the potential before you release it. You're going to need a lot of space. And one of the things that hurt me was, I was just a hobbyist. I had a full-time job. I had a young family, and I was doing this on the side. I mean, it wasn't, I never got into ball pythons to start a business or to make money. I just loved it, man. I was hooked.
Right. That's that's an often overlooked thing, I feel like, lately too, is that that just initial love to doing this. That's pivotal.
The passion. I mean, the passion is the key to success in this hobby, I think.
Definitely.
Right.
And people always say, man, you guys are so far ahead, and man, I'm so way behind and all of this. But the ball python market and the industry and the whole breeding game is more of a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know what I mean? And when you're running a marathon, a head start really doesn't matter that much.
Right. Yeah, if you can't finish the race, it doesn't matter if you have a head start.
This is a game of patience. The people who have success in this game are, they're the ones that persist. They're patient. They stick to their projects. They don't give up. Those are the people who win in this game. So you need a lot of space. Again, 1 to 2 racks. People don't really give a damn about how much potential you think the gene has.
Right.
Like you can talk it up all day long. The proof is in the pudding. And until you actually produce that crazy combo, people are not. You're not going to capture people's, imagination.
Right.
So make sure you have space. Don't set any timelines. Don't, if you told me, I think I get confused. I never really kept track of it, but I think I acquired the Orange Dream in 2002. I think I found baby pictures the other day and posted them online, and I was looking at the dates, and it was 2002. So 2002, I didn't produce the first supers until 2011. And that's when it really took off. I mean, there was some interest. I think Bob O'Brien, we were just texting back and forth the other day. He bought a group like in 2008. He's like one of the first people to really buy into it.
Right.
But if you told me it's going to take you 9 years or whatever, before you actually want to buy these animals from me. I
saw anything out of it.
And yeah,
Right.
I probably would have got rid of her right then and there.
Right.
So don't send any timelines. You know, you really don't know how long it's going to take. You know, and unless you have the space, you know, and you have the resources and the other genes to work with, you know, it may take you longer or whatever, or it may be quick. You know, you look at the stranger.
You could get lucky.
Yeah, the stranger. I think when they first discovered the stranger, they had produced the clown,
right? And
that was badass by itself. So,
yeah, it just hit right, like it just
worked right out of the gate. Yeah,
right.
So that's lesson number 2. Don't set any timelines and be patient.
I feel like that's really important.
Yeah, and when I was first kind of getting involved with looking at ball pythons much more than just like a normal or an albino, it was right around that 2010-ish time frame. And I remember coming across on the Bush Leader Breeds forum the Orange Dream stuff, and you kept telling everybody, well, just wait and see, this is going to be good. And there were a lot of haters on that forum.
Oh yeah,
telling you were producing, you know, normals. Basically, you had a nice line of normals, and I kept remembering you just telling everybody, wait and see. And then that super hit, and holy crap, man, everybody went bananas. You couldn't find it on King Snake, Fauna, nothing like that. Like,
yep.
And that takes time.
So that brings us to lesson number 3. If you have a codom or a possible codom, I mean, a lot of times you have a dominant gene and you don't know if it's going to produce a super or not. So you need to experiment. Don't release any until you produce that super.
Okay.
When I produced the super in 2011, I had already released a bunch. And the main reason why I released them, as I, you know, alluded to earlier, you know, I had a full-time job, family. I didn't have a ton of space. I didn't want to add. I had a big basement. I mean, I could have added, you know, I could have tripled the size of my collection. I was comfortable where my collection was at, you know, and I didn't want to have a pages, you know. That was a mistake, though. It would have been worth it for me to get some more adult pages and not sell any of those guys.
Do you think that would have been a mistake because you would have maybe profited more keeping them? Okay. Yeah. I would have been able to command a significantly higher price. Right.
For the first Orange Dreams that I released. I mean, initially I brought them out for like $10K and like nobody wanted them. Nobody would touch them. Had I waited until I produced the super, or if I had more cages and more animals, I probably could have produced the super sooner. But I was, you know, I had animals just sitting for years, like that would never be bred. They were just sitting. I had males sitting there. I didn't want to breed them because I couldn't sell them. Like nobody would touch them.
Right.
So they kind of sat, and I would do like 2 or 3 clutches, 4 or 5 clutches. You know, I was breeding it very light.
Right.
So again, you know, don't release anything until you understand the full potential of that project. I suspected early on that it was going to be a really, really cool project because I saw right out the gate with some of the earlier combos what it was doing, and I saw that it was bringing a lot of different things to the table. You know, it was bringing orange color. It was cleaning the pattern. It was a cleaner gene. It was an orange gene.
Right.
And the blacks were like nice and dark and high contrast black. And then you had the pattern disruption. You had the reduced patterns and the weird things it was doing with, like, you know, spider and fire. So you know, I saw early on the potential, you know, and that's why I was, you know, I was confident in the gene, and I had several Dinker projects that I was working on, but the more I worked with the Orange Dream, the more I realized, you know, it like the gene had a lot of potential. So, you know, again, I think a lot of people, especially a lot of you new guys that are in this hobby, And it was the same for me. Like, even though, I used to see Kevin and those guys selling snakes at Daytona, for 17 grand. And, those guys used to do 200 grand, 250,
Right. Yeah.
one weekend. Even though I saw that, I still didn't, I kind of underestimated this whole thing,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't realize the potential. And I was small scale. I've for most of my career, I did 25 to 45 clutches a year.
Yeah.
I was never big, but that money was pretty steady and it was pretty consistent. And it allows you to do things like, max out your retirement account.
Yep. Yeah.
Like most people
Your
put in
IRA.
5% or your 401k or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, people putting in 2.5% or 5% just to get the match from their company or whatever. Dude, I used to max it out just because I had this discretionary income.
Right.
Right.
And it has such a long-term impact on your finances. Even if you're small scale and you're generating an extra 30 or 40 grand a year, if you're smart with that money,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
it really sets you up later on,
Yeah.
financial freedom, and at the same time, you're enjoying yourself.
Yep.
But
Right.
on a much larger scale, like if you wanted to do it on a larger scale, like there's serious money out there. And, I never ever imagined that I would sell a snake. Like, my entire business plan was around selling snakes anywhere from $500 to $2,000.
Yep. Yep.
That was my initial. If you told me, I would have sold a snake for 50 grand, 20 grand, I would have been like, you're crazy. Like,
Right.
these days are over, but that's not the case. So a lot of people, I think, they underestimate it. So
Yeah, that was a really good insight. I feel like really thinking about what can be done, and I could see how that would impact the way you were working with the Orange Dream.
Yeah. I mean, I would have put more time and effort into it. Had I known, I knew the gene had potential, but I didn't realize how much potential. And if I, knew in advance that sucker would look the way it ended up looking,
Yeah.
man, I wouldn't have sold any of them. I probably would have been out more than 10 grand. But it got to the point where I was running out of space, and I was working all these other genes, and I'm like, man, like, these guys are taking up all this valuable space.
Yeah.
So I started selling them and like trading them prematurely. I was trying to get one into Ralph Davis's hands initially before I sold any.
Yeah.
I was trying to get Ralph Davis because I knew he had it. He was calling it the banana bird eater or something.
The banana bird.
Yeah, when he produced the spider combo, he had an Orange Dream sibling, and he was calling it a banana bird eater sibling.
Right.
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 And I looked at it and I'm like, that's a goddamn Orange Dream.
Right.
And he was like, nah, I don't think they're the same. And I'm like, dude, they're identical. I sent him like a bunch of pictures, but he was, whether he was just being strategic or not, I don't know. But he basically told me, nah, he thought mine looked more like a blonde pastel or something.
Right. Yeah, yours was a blonde beer.
So the next year I bred it to a spider, and then I produced the Dream Bee, and then I sent him the pics, and it was identical to the one he produced.
Right.
And the
Right.
thing is, he had a female, and I was like, look, Ralph, I have adult breeder males. Like, let's do a trade. I just wanted to get into his hands because, it was Ralph Davis.
Right. Right.
And I knew if he got it, that one, he would probably start charging 20 grand for it, 25 grand.
Right. And then you could.
But he would have been able to put it to more animals than what I could have. My collection was still, small and, not very powerful.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So don't release it until you hit the super, or until you unlock it and figure out the potential. And again, so I kind of talked about this already, but don't underestimate the money-making potential. Like, there's insane money in this game, and this hobby is, a lot of people have underestimated this hobby, including myself. Like this whole ball python game is huge.
Right.
It's growing, constantly growing every year after year. The entire reptile industry actually is growing.
Yeah, I would agree to that.
Yeah, but the ball python game is unique, just because they're the perfect size. The genetic diversity is like, it's insane.
Unreal.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, the combo potential is like, it's through the roof. So, don't underestimate it. Be patient. It may seem like a lot of money, but go ahead and buy that rack system and put the time and effort into those animals, and understand that those projects, it takes a lot of space, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of patience. And that's why when people contact me and they have a dinker project and they say, "Hey, do you want to get into this dinker project?"
Right.
Usually the answer is like, "No, I'd rather you do it."
And then you buy something later.
Yeah, I'll spend 20 grand with you and buy it.
Right.
Because I can appreciate the time and the effort that's going to go into it, and the one thing that's more valuable than money is time. The one thing you can't replace is time. So
right,
time is precious, man. And it takes a lot of work, time, and effort. Talk to some of these guys who, talk to Josh, with the acid gene, and talk to some of the guys who actually been through it. Like, it takes a lot to bring a new project to market, and then to get people to get buy-in and try to figure out which genes is going to pop with,
Yeah.
Right. And that's so a question with that is, like, you referenced Ralph Davis as somebody who you really wanted to put the Orange Dream, in his hands, also because what he was producing. But how do you kind of judge who do you put those animals' hands in at the very first little bit, right?
Yeah, so that's another good point that you bring up. You got to be real careful with who you when you start releasing your project. You want to be very selective with who you release your project to. Some people are focused on how much money they're going to get,
right.
But it may behoove you. It may be better for you to focus on how that individual is going to be able to impact your project long term. Like, if you can convince Justin to take, your new gene, somebody like Justin is gonna, he's gonna work the gene. He's gonna see the potential in it, and then he's probably gonna do something really, really cool with it.
Right.
So and like once somebody does something really, really cool with that gene, then the demand just goes through the roof, So
Right.
you it's good to get it out into other people's hands, because I don't care how big your collection is, you're not going to be able to do everything.
No.
Right.
And it's funny because I didn't produce the first Orange Dream clown. Somebody else produced the first one. I forget who, but I know Colin. You guys remember Colin Weaver?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
on the forums. Yeah,
good guy. He's gotten out since. But Colin Weaver, actually, I got my first Orange Dream male clown from Colin Weaver.
Really?
And I took that male. It ended up being a Orange Dream blade clown, and I used that male to make the first Super Orange Dream clown combos.
Right.
So,
right.
So again, this is not, the whole competition thing. I think people people spend way too much time and energy on things that really don't matter.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just gonna talk to you about competition. Giving your gene to a guy like Justin, that doesn't outcompete you. Then it only helps you.
Yeah.
Because you have the setup already.
Well, if you want to compete with Justin, knock yourself out. Like, you're gonna be
right.
world of heartache, because so for me, I actually traded Justin in Orange Dream early on, and him and another guy, Rich, I forget the guy's name, Feliciano or something like that. They were partnering on a project, but I did a trade with them. But the thing is it's really not a competition, at least not for me. I'm a practical kind of guy, so
Right.
I don't need to be first to make a combo.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I'd rather you spend 5 years and make it first, so I can see whether or not it's worth the time.
Yeah.
Then I'll start working with it and maybe stacking some more jeans on top of it.
Right.
But people, for whatever reason, they put a lot of emphasis on, world first, and and for me, like I remember when World of Ball Pythons was like the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to get people, this guy's claiming this is first. You made this like 2 years ago. It's like, dude, I don't care. Like,
right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
do you think that stems from a breed for yourself as opposed to breeding for people, or what, do you think that comes from the passion of wanting to do it?
I don't know. I don't know, man. It baffles my mind sometimes, but I think it's just the way our society is built.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all about, everything's a competition,
Very competitive in America.
Yeah, and it's all about it's all about the individual,
Mm-hmm.
But for me, like, even when I was at work in like corporate America, I would get promoted and get these titles, and and I'd be like whatever. Like, it really didn't excite me that much. And at the end of the day, what excited me was my bottom line. It was like,
right.
How much can I earn, annually? And is this thing going to put more money in my pocket or not? Or it's going to take more of my time,
Right. Again, going back to that time equation. Exactly.
Yeah. So for me, it was always about, time. And I liked my job. I enjoyed my career and everything, but I really wanted to go to work and then come home and have a life, and, go down to my snake room.
Right.
And have, work with my animals and spend time with my kids and do other things, that I enjoy. So, for me, like, I don't care what another breeder is doing. I'm really focused on what I'm doing.
Right.
And if I'm having fun and I'm profitable, like, why would I get all bent out of shape if somebody else, makes something first,
Makes an Orange Dream clown before you. Right.
It's crazy. You have guys like in the snake hobby, like, coming up. You guys, you remember Bush League and like,
yeah.
You remember all of the drama, right?
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. I used to read it for like Reader's Digest. Like, oh, look at this going on.
It's like if you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars with a hobby that you love, and you're still miserable and pissed off and angry all the time.
Right. What's the gig here?
Yeah, it's like, it's like, so anyway, I just try to have fun with it. And I'm very, very grateful for the hobby, and just, discovering the hobby and getting into the hobby. Like, I have crazy gratitude, to all my customers and people who have supported me over the years, because it's really, it's really changed my life. So
right.
I always admired that about you, though, Ozzy, man. Like, because the BLBC brought out some of the worst that we've seen in rivalries against snake breeders, and you were always kind of like on top. Like you said, you were looking more for, hey, guys, like, if we can identify this, or if we can figure it out, it's going to be more fun for all of us, right?
Yeah.
So doesn't matter if you crossed the finish line first. And in all honesty, if you did cross it first, how do you know you really crossed it, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Wise words right there. How do you even know where the finish line was?
Right.
Yeah, if you got another guy with the same clutch, it's helpful, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. It's not a hindrance. Yeah.
So put your jealousy and your I don't know,
Well, and it's a difficult thing in the industry itself because you're selling to your competition. Also, if you are looking strictly on a competitive mindset, like if you were ultra competitive, you wouldn't let any of the genes go, and what would that serve you? You know, so
exactly. And so I used to I would sell stuff, and some guys are so-called bad for the market or whatever. People have business practices that I don't agree with,
Right.
but that's on them. I mean, it's their business, it's their money, it's their animals, so I'm not going to judge. I may disagree with you, but like auctions, if you want to do auctions, I think I think auctions are like just bad business,
Right.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
So, for me, I would go to, like, somebody would inquire and people would say, don't sell to that guy, or like he's going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the old term, he's a flipper. He's
Yeah.
a flipper. Yeah.
I used to, when I started out, I was flipping. I would buy, I figured out, like, the first year or two before I started actually hatching my own babies and I was building my collection, I knew, like, if somebody had for instance, I went to Snake Keeper, female pastels were $2,000.
Right.
Snake Keeper had 5. I said, well, what if I take all 5? And they were like, well, if you take all 5, we'll give them to you for $7,500.
Yeah.
Right.
So that saved me $2,500. So I bought all 5. I didn't need 5 female pastels, but there were 5 female pastels,
Right.
So I just got them. I kept them for a few weeks, fed them, figured out which one I liked the most. And by the time I figured out which one I wanted to keep, they were all huge. They were like 500-600 grams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up selling 3 for $2,500 each.
Right.
I ended up with 2 basically free and clear. Got my $7,500 back.
Right.
What did I do with that $7,500? I just took it and went and bought more animals. I mean,
Right. It was arbitrary, but it worked. It got you 2 free snakes, and then now you reinvested the money you got back.
yeah. And at the same time too, like when I would post and sell snakes, somebody bought one. I'd be like, yeah, I bought it from the Snake Keeper. I bought a group of. I wasn't dishonest about it. Like, I bought a group of animals from the Snake Keeper. Do you want this 500-600 gram female pastel or not?
Right, exactly.
Does it matter where it hatched out at?
Yeah, people didn't care because they were, stuff like that was selling so fast back then, and I was just trying to diversify and build up my collection. And so I don't have anything against flippers. I have something against people who are dishonest or just not. They don't conduct themselves professionally. Like if you're going to buy a group of animals and flip them, make sure they're eating, make sure they're healthy,
Right.
Before you post them and sell them.
Yeah, keep your name good in that aspect. Yeah, I mean, we are these are animals, right? And they, they're living creatures. So, I think a lot of times people associate with flippers or with anybody making a profit off of this, the animals are going to be unhealthy and not good. No, that's absolutely not true. Know who you're dealing with, like you've always been a stand-up guy. Every time I've ever talked to you, it's always been straight business as far as what we're looking at, what we're talking about. Whenever you're dealing with anybody, if somebody's trying to get something over you, you're going to kind of see it, right? And they don't last very long, right? So that's the other thing.
A lot of these guys come and go, and some of them linger around, but they struggle. And again, just, if you're having fun with the hobby and you're enjoying the hobby, just, you want to benefit the hobby. You don't want to do things that's going to hurt the hobby,
Right.
Yep. But, a lot of people get into it for profit, profit only. And, they don't, I think people like that don't last. I think if you're passionate and you really enjoy working with the animals, then I think it's a blessing. And it's a unique opportunity for you to do something you enjoy while simultaneously, earning a buck.
Right.
And in times like, what we're dealing with right now with this whole pandemic, money isn't everything, but if you can be happy doing something you enjoy and at the same time obtain financial security, I think that's a blessing.
Yeah. And what a rarity also, that's I feel like not a norm either, kind of in the culture we're in right now. Most people are unhappy with how they're making money. So, what a deal, man. This industry.
Yeah, it's really a blessing. And when you take stock of that and you take a step back, and have some gratitude, how can you not be happy or, enjoy what you're doing? So it always baffled my mind. Some of the guys that make the most money in this industry can be some of the most miserable people.
Right.
And I think they just lost sight. Like, I think they just lost sight. That's why I've always kind of kept my collection small and made sure that, when I got to go down and do my weekly, water bowls or feed or whatever, it never feels like a chore for me, It's never something that I like dread,
Yeah. It's not the worst.
I actually look forward to it. So keep your collection to that size to where you enjoy it, and then I think you'll have insane success.
Yeah, I think that's super important because it's so easy, especially nowadays. Like there are quite a few, hobbyist, smaller breeders out there. There's a lot of animals that you can go scoop up for under $500, right?
Yep.
And it's not a quantity, it's not a race to get the most or anything. And I think we all struggle with that in our everyday lives of kind of like learning that balance of what's too much, what's not enough. So yeah, man, thanks. I love hearing that from you, just because you are one of the guys that has been in this for a long time, and you've kept it at that level for you. That's worked, right? So you're a great example, dude. So
and I've always been profitable. I mean, I've done really, really well with it. And this year will be my highest production ever. And I'll still be, looks like I'm going to be under 100.
100 clutches.
Maybe 96 so far. Unless I get a few late ovulations, but I retired in 2017 from my 9-to-5. So, I do a little consultant work, in the winter, but that's pretty much dried up now. So I can manage 96 clutches easy,
Right.
And you guys, I don't know if you guys met Jordan at Tinley.
Canadian Jordan?
Yeah.
No, my nephew Jordan.
At your table. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jordan works for me. He's running the rodent building now.
Nice.
So
that takes
that's
up a lot of
a huge help. Yeah, that's been a huge help. And like we were talking about earlier, I'm going to put my daughters to work here.
Yeah, heck yeah. Running that camera, man.
For the summertime, again, they can make a few bucks and set up their retirement accounts. I mean, they're 11 and 15. So if they
start now, man.
Yeah, they start investing now, they'll be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
By the time they're 25, they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and it's a tax write-off,
Right.
Absolutely. So it works out perfect.
Yeah, I always tell them that my goal in life is to give them financial freedom and education, They don't really teach you about money in school.
Right.
Nope.
My goal is to give them financial freedom so that they could do what they want, you know, and they don't have to worry about money. If they want to be a school teacher, you know, they don't have to worry about, oh, school teachers don't make that much money, whatever. I want to make sure that they're financially independent.
Right.
So that
because then you can do what you love, right? And I mean,
you can raise 96 clutches the next year.
Yeah.
You know?
They could end up doing what they enjoy. You know, so many people have jobs that they hate, and I just think that's tragic, man. Especially when you experience the opposite of it. You know, you want it for everybody. You know, like you realize how lucky you are, and you know, you want to see other people experience the same thing. You know, doing something like, even when I worked in biotech, and I consult now still. I'm passionate about that work, you know. I don't hate it, you know.
Right.
When I got up into corporate level, I think I was a director level when I resigned. It just got a little. I started to like lose my passion for it, just the politics, you know.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have the freedom to be able to walk away from that.
Yeah, right. Which is great. Which is great.
Yeah.
And
that was, I was a 6-figure job. Like when I put my resignation in, they thought I was crazy.
Right.
HR was like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure."
You don't have to go anywhere.
I'm out, you know. So to be able to have that ability and that freedom, you know, I think that's the key. You know, to live a happy life, you know.
And it almost makes you do better, like at that daily job, knowing that you can walk away.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
freedom is a weird thing, man.
You know what too? Like being able to come home and go down into the snake room and work for a couple of hours and just completely de-stress. Also, I think helped me be a better performer at work. You know.
Right.
I think there are studies that show that people who are happy outside of work are going to perform better when they come to work, you know.
And a better mindset.
Yeah, whether you go to the gym or whatever, if you have an outlet where you can go and de-stress and chill and, you know, enjoy, then you can come back to work, you know, fresh the next day, ready to go.
Yep, 100%.
100%.
We had a couple questions kind of talking about market and stuff like that, you know, with the recession and everything going on. Where do you see maybe the market kind of going the next 5 years, 10 years now?
So this is crazy. So when they shut everything down in March, like, you know, we were all like, what the hell's, you know, like everybody was, I was nervous. I was starting to take some, you know, I have rental property, you know, so I have tenants who pay rent.
Yeah.
You know, so my consultant job, you know, I did a lot of travel, you know. All last year I've been going to, towards the end of last year, second half of last year, I've been going to South Korea. So I had a pretty lucrative contract in South Korea. So that dried up, you know, so
quickly,
it was it was a little nerve wracking, and I got my nephew working for me full time, and, you know, I got my elderly mom, you know, that relies on me, you know, I have kids. So like everybody, I was a little worried, and it was crazy because the snake sales just started to like go through the roof.
Right,
you know?
Right. That's what I've been seeing, you know. So it's nice to know, like, maybe your side of that.
Bro, I tell you, and I talked to a lot of breeders, and all were saying the same. They were like, "Holy shit! Like, I've never sold this many snakes. I'm shipping like 20 boxes this week."
Right.
And so April was my best month, and it's like, usually my strongest months are during hatching season, you know.
Yeah.
April is usually okay, you know, because you get people getting their tax returns or whatever.
Right.
It's not my best month by far, but this April was my strongest month in sales ever,
Wow.
Wow.
Think about that. And I didn't even have any inventory. I think I had like 48 animals or something.
Right.
You know, so I started like getting calls on like selling. Like I sell adults. I sold quite a few adults without even listing them on Morph Market. So
Yeah.
it was powerful, and I'm still selling snakes pretty consistently. And 2008, same thing. Like if you have good quality animals, you have unique combos. You're not producing just the typical run of the mill single gene. It's always been good. Like I've since I started, I think I started Ozzy Boids in 2003 as a sole proprietor. I mean, I was in the hobby for 3 years prior to that, but 2003 was when my CPA said you need to make this a business because you're going to pay taxes and you're not going to get any write-offs. So 2003, I created Ozzy Boids as a sole proprietor, and ever since then, it's been profitable, and every year it increases.
Yeah, growth, man, sustained growth.
The growth is insane, and that's been kind of having it as like a little side hobby business, like not even, you look at Justin, who when Justin finished school, he said, I'm going to go into this full time.
Yeah,
I'm doing it full time. And you see where he took it.
Right.
You see his facility, and he's got employees, and so I know his employees don't got to worry about getting laid off. Unlike millions of other people, unfortunately.
Difficult time around.
Yeah. So, and now more so than ever, I mean, you're stuck at home, can't go out, you can't go see.
Can't do anything.
Yeah, I can't go see my mom. Like, what I started doing is go visit my mom, have her come outside, because she lives in like a senior citizens. I don't even want to go in the building. Like, so
reasonable.
Yeah, I'll meet her outside and we'll go for a walk in the neighborhood or whatever. But having my collection, keeps me sane, man. Because
heck yeah.
If I didn't have my collection, I would go nuts.
Dude, I know we were talking about that before. Dude, yesterday was the first day I think I left in 45 days, man. So it's like, dude, I've been living in that snake room just doing stuff. I know how those snakes move from front to back to the cage right now, I feel like. Like I can almost time out their schedule. So, dude, it's helped so much during all this. So much.
The cages are spotless, I don't have any clogged sippers on the rodents.
Right. All the water's perfect.
all the little chores that you put off. Like, and then shipping boxes pre-made. So there's always something to do and plenty. And this is my busy season, so I'm good.
Yeah. Right. It actually didn't affect you much. Like that's what I was kind of saying too. Like I love doing stuff here at the house, and so when this hit, I was like, now I have a legitimate excuse to say no. I am not leaving.
Right. So we had another question come in from Will, and it was kind of talking about snakes and stuff like that from Will from Royal Canadian Reptiles, by the way. He said, how do you determine when to release an adult? I feel like that's kind of an interesting question.
So the way I do it, the strategy, I call that strategy to upgrade. Like every year I upgrade, so I'm always trying to upgrade my collection, and I've been doing this from day one. Yeah. And you could go back 10 years and pull up some Reptile Radio podcasts, and you'll hear me talking about this strategy. And it's basically every year I just want to upgrade my genetics And as I alluded to earlier, I want to keep my collection enjoyable because I know that passion and that enjoyment gives me an edge. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's I think that's the key to my success personally.
Uh-huh.
To be so I keep my collection small. So I don't care. Like I shipped the Orange Dream pinstripe, that the clutch that you guys that I posted.
Yeah.
Which is that's a Super Orange Dream yellow belly Enchi leopard pinstripe clutch. That female, she gave me, I think it was like 13 eggs or something.
Right.
Wow.
So
that's a big clutch.
That's a great, and that thing's been solid from day one, you know.
Yeah.
And she's consistent. You know, she gives me big clutches, but I got the things that I'm replacing her with. I have like a Super Orange Dream pinstripe Het Desert Ghost.
Right.
And then I have Super Orange Dream yellow belly pinstripe visual Desert Ghost. That's five.
So everything.
Like it sucks to sell that big female, but the stuff that's replacing her, it's going to take me to the next level and keep my production cutting edge.
Yeah. Right.
And more importantly, it's going to keep my collection small.
Yes. Right. Manageable.
No
burnout.
Productive. Yeah.
But I think I think Will was kind of touching on though, especially with like a new project, bringing it to market. Is there like a time frame, right, where you're going to say, all right, I'm not going to release, an adult at this time, or even a male or females, or how do you kind of structure that part of the process?
Yeah, I'm not like, if you look at that Zinger gene, like I haven't released any of that stuff.
Right.
So
you're figuring it out? Is that kind of yeah. That's cool too.
I actually ordered some new Freedom Breeder racks, and I have 2 of the new racks, and then 2 of the old 70-30 style tubs, 76 tubs.
Right.
But it's going to increase. It's going to increase my adult breeder capacity by, I think it's 19 tubs. And I did that mainly because of that whole Zinger thing. Now, Billy from Mutation Creation, he thinks it's going to prove out to be Het Monsoon.
Okay.
So I shouldn't year. I've been breeding them back to each other this year for the first time.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens with that. But but I'm not releasing any of that new stuff. Again, as I spoke to earlier, I learned my lesson. So
releasing too soon.
Yeah, and then me and Will, we have another gene that may be the same thing that we're working on from the puzzle project. So again, I'll send Will an animal from that. Like, I have no problem putting that in Will's hands, because if it's the same, great, we'll figure it out. If not, that's cool. I'll get my hands on his. We're gonna swap.
Right. Yeah. Do a trade.
So, but I know, somebody like Will. You see what Will is doing over there. You see some of the videos,
yeah.
And God knows what he's hiding.
Yeah.
So I have no problem putting, that stuff
Will in
his,
the lineup.
I know he's going to do good things with it,
Right.
And at the end of the day, everybody's going to benefit from it.
Yeah,
right. So I guess the answer kind of to that question is, right, there is no set timeline, right? You have to judge it as you go. Who you're dealing with is a major key part of it as well. And, things like that.
Like if for instance, like, one of the best things I ever did early on in the Orange Dream project was get an Orange Dream into Mark Mandick's hand,
Right.
Right. Mark Mandick, he was already, well established and well respected in the industry, and he was the first one. Like, he wouldn't shut up about it. Every time he's on a podcast and he's like, "Oh, I'm excited about this Orange Dream." Like, he was the one breeder that saw the potential long before I produced the Super.
Yeah, it got crazy.
Him and Bob O'Brien. Bob O'Brien was a complete newbie. I mean, he was just coming into it, and I think he bought like 5 Orange Dreams. I think he bought like 2.3.
Right.
He's like a new guy,
Right, just going for it.
He liked it,
and it worked.
Yeah, so again, you got to follow your vision. But like, if I have a new gene and I don't want to have 2 racks with these animals, I'll release them to a few certain, key breeders.
Individuals. Yeah.
Like I'd put it like in Mark Mandick's hands in a heartbeat,
right?
Or Will, or Justin,
right.
And again, it's not. I don't care if they do really, really well with it, because tides lift all boats.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
There you go.
That project and do some really cool stuff with that project. Everybody involved is going to benefit from it. So
absolutely. And
that's my logic.
So kind of talking about that a little bit is we had a question come in from John Feely, who was asking, kind of what do you consider a small collection, and then maybe a hybrid of that is what do you think you need to be in the game? How like, do you think that's a variable or to each their own kind of thing, or?
Yeah, so a small collection, it really depends on the individual. Do you have a full-time job, or are you financially independent? Like,
right.
So it really depends. And I say I would define a small collection as somebody who's doing, under 50 clutches a year.
Right.
I mean, it's relative.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I feel like that's a relative question. What's small to some is huge to others, and that's what she said.
Friends like Tom Barnhart, the guy who came out with the Barnhart line, Black Pastel.
Yeah, super pretty.
Yeah, Tom has a really small collection. Does like 20 clutches or whatever, but it's been great for him. He got into it, shortly after I did. So he's been doing it, almost as long as me.
Right.
And he didn't go big. He doesn't have a website or whatever, but he consistently makes good money every year.
Yeah.
And Tom is smart with his money. He invests. He puts money away, so he's pretty comfortable. And he's, for him, it's the perfect size. Collection.
Ready to roll. Yeah.
So it's really a personal question, and like I said, it's really comes down to what you do with that extra cash flow. I know guys who've paid off their mortgages or whatever.
Yeah. Dude, this money can do a lot of good in your life. Yeah,
if if it helps you max out your retirement account, every year, in 20 or 30 years, the significance of that is huge.
Yeah,
big time.
If you like, I wish I got into real estate earlier, but I'm into real estate now. And if I would have been just, buying houses and, condos, warehouses or whatever, every time I had a good year, I would be in much better shape than I'm now,
Yeah, you'd be having some really good years right now.
Yeah. So again, it depends, do you have a full-time job? Are you running a business? You want to have, your collection should be big enough to where you still enjoy it, and you stay on top of your husbandry and take care of your animals, because healthy animals are going to be very productive, and then all balances.
Yeah, exactly. Production, eating, breeding, being happy ball pythons make for happy baby ball pythons.
Yep. Happy owner. Yeah.
Yeah. World
Yeah,
goes
a
around,
happy
man.
owner is important. Yeah, exactly. All right, so the recap, we've got the three main things that you started off with. You know, space, if you're starting out a new project, is super important. No timelines as far as putting yourself under pressure to get things out, you know, prove it out. And then if it's, you know, incomplete dominant, don't release until you've figured out the super aspect of it, right?
Yep.
Anything you want to add kind of to that? Did you have more on the list that we stopped you from talking about, or?
I think that was pretty much it, you know, and I'll just end with, you know, make sure you have fun, man. Have fun with it, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
Most of us, we get into this because we enjoy it, you know, and it's really a lifestyle. Like you guys know. I mean, you know, from doing these podcasts or whatever, but hanging out at shows and, you know, developing friendships with people all around the globe. So it's really a pretty cool ass hobby.
It
really is. Yeah,
it
man.
Is. The social aspect to this is, I don't know how I would have met, you know, 5 or 6 people in Europe in the past 2 years. You know, I would have never have met anybody over there. Asia, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I have friendships spanning, you know, 20 years now. You know, from people that I, you know, met from online. You know, and
right.
You know, I go over to Europe and I meet up with them, and you know, we hang out. So just remember to have fun. You know, chill out.
Yeah.
You know, remember
there it is.
Right? And
there it is.
And then you know, the success is going to be a byproduct of that. So.
Right. I love it, man. Well, Oz, dude, thank you so much for coming back on here. This has been, I feel like this has been our best. I don't know if you can hear my bird now. He's starting to go crazy.
Yeah, I can. The pterodactyl in the back.
Yeah, the pterodactyl in the background. He's starting to lose it. So I guess that's my calling card. But no, I really appreciate you having on here, man.
Yeah. Loved it, man. Thank you so much for the info that you've, you know, the wisdom you've imparted with us tonight yet again, right? Like, you really are somebody to look up to in this hobby. If you're new into it, you guys, people out there joining the channel, check out Ozzy's Instagram. He said he's committing to some more videos now that he's possibly got some workers. Understand? I look forward to that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, both those links are in the description as well, so jump on down there and click them.
Definitely. And there's a bunch of other content that Ozzy's been on. He's been on our show a couple times. You did the Bullshit podcast. Snake and the Fat Man, I think you were on there too. You've done a bunch of different shows and talked a lot about Orange Dreams, so check out all the content out there.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Cool, man.
See you.
See you, Ozzy.
Thank you.